Every single day, 87% of Americans consume a food they have been told is healthy, natural, and essential for good nutrition. They pour it into their coffee, stir it into their oatmeal, blend it into smoothies, and feed it to their children for breakfast. The food industry has spent billions of dollars convincing you this food is beneficial. Your doctor has never warned you against it. The nutrition labels call it low-fat, heart-healthy, fortified with vitamins. But inside your intestines, every time you consume this food, trillions of beneficial bacteria are dying, not gradually declining over years, dying within hours of consumption. And the damage compounds every single day you continue eating it. I'm talking about pasteurized, homogenized, ultra-processed dairy milk, the kind sitting in 87% of American refrigerators right now, the kind promoted as a calcium source, a protein supplement, a healthy beverage for all ages. In 15 years of clinical practice, I have watched the explosion of digestive disorders, autoimmune conditions, and metabolic dysfunction correlate directly with dairy consumption patterns. And here's what nobody in a white coat will tell you during a 12-minute office visit: the milk you're drinking is not the problem. The industrial processing that milk undergoes before it reaches your table is systematically destroying your gut microbiome. And once that microbiome collapses, your body loses its primary defense system against disease. Subscribe to Dr. Waterling right now and hit that like button. We're working toward 1,000 subscribers, and we're building this channel on one principle. The healthcare system makes money when you stay sick, not when you get better. Every subscriber moves us closer to reaching people who need this information before permanent damage occurs. Let me be direct with you. Your digestive system contains approximately 100 trillion bacterial cells. That number is 10 times larger than the total number of human cells in your entire body. These bacteria are not passengers. They are not optional. They perform functions your human cells cannot perform. They manufacture vitamins your body cannot make. They break down fiber your digestive enzymes cannot process. They train your immune system to distinguish between harmless substances and genuine threats. They produce neurotransmitters that regulate your mood, your sleep, your cognitive function. When your gut bacteria die, you lose all of these protective functions simultaneously. The medical term for this bacterial ecosystem is the intestinal microbiome. In healthy individuals, this microbiome contains between 300 and 1,000 different bacterial species living in careful balance. The dominant species are beneficial organisms that protect intestinal walls, produce anti-inflammatory compounds, and prevent pathogenic bacteria from establishing colonies. But this balance is extraordinarily fragile. Modern processed foods contain multiple compounds that kill beneficial bacteria while allowing harmful species to flourish. And pasteurized dairy milk contains one of the most destructive combinations of microbiome-damaging elements found in any commonly consumed food. Here's what happens inside your intestines within 2 to 4 hours of drinking a glass of processed milk. First, the lactose, milk sugar that has been concentrated through processing, reaches your small intestine. In individuals with even mild lactose intolerance, and that's approximately 65% of the global adult population, this lactose passes undigested into the colon. Once there, it ferments rapidly, feeding harmful bacteria species including Clostridium and certain strains of E. coli that produce inflammatory toxins. These bacteria multiply explosively on the lactose fuel, releasing gas, organic acids, and endotoxins that damage the intestinal lining. Second, the milk proteins, particularly casein, trigger an inflammatory immune response in a significant percentage of consumers. Casein breaks down into peptides called casomorphins that cross the intestinal barrier and bind to opioid receptors in the brain. This creates a mild addictive response, which is why people crave dairy products despite experiencing digestive symptoms. But the immune response to casein fragments creates systemic inflammation that kills beneficial bacteria species particularly sensitive to inflammatory cytokines. Third, and this is where the damage becomes severe, pasteurized milk contains 0 beneficial bacteria. Raw milk, the kind humans consumed for thousands of years before industrial processing, contains beneficial bacterial species, including lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, that support digestive function and immune regulation. Pasteurization, the high heat treatment required by law to kill pathogens, also kills every beneficial organism. You are consuming a sterile liquid that provides no bacterial reinforcement to your microbiome while simultaneously feeding the harmful species that damage it. Fourth, homogenization, the process that prevents cream from separating, breaks milk fat into particles small enough to cross the intestinal barrier intact. These fat particles trigger immune responses and create oxidative stress that damages the mucosal lining where beneficial bacteria attach and form protective colonies. When this mucosal layer degrades, beneficial bacteria lose their habitat and die off even if you stop consuming dairy. Now, the most important thing I want you to hear: the dairy industry knows this. The research documenting dairy's microbiome damage has been published in peer-reviewed gastroenterology journals for over a decade. A study published in the Journal of Dairy Science confirmed that pasteurization eliminates all viable beneficial bacteria while concentrating inflammatory compounds. Research in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition demonstrated that regular dairy consumption correlates with decreased microbiome diversity, the single most important marker of gut health. A meta-analysis in Nutrients Journal showed that populations with low dairy consumption have significantly higher counts of protective bifidobacterium species. But here's where it gets critical. The system you rely on for nutritional guidance is not built to keep you healthy. It is built to support agricultural industries and pharmaceutical revenues. There is no profit in telling you that the calcium in dairy is poorly absorbed compared to leafy greens, that the protein is inferior to legumes and fish, that the vitamins are synthetic additions replacing nutrients destroyed by processing. Your next appointment will not include a microbiome analysis or dietary assessment of dairy impact because there is no billing code for microbiome restoration through nutrition. Let me tell you about Margaret, 58 years old, who came to my office after 3 years of progressive digestive dysfunction. She experienced daily bloating, alternating constipation and diarrhea, chronic fatigue, brain fog, and joint pain in her hands and knees. She had seen 4 different specialists. The gastroenterologist diagnosed irritable bowel syndrome and prescribed antispasmodics that provided no relief. The rheumatologist tested for autoimmune markers, found borderline elevations, and recommended monitoring without treatment. The endocrinologist blamed perimenopause and suggested hormone replacement. The primary care physician prescribed probiotics and fiber supplements that worsened her symptoms. Margaret was drinking 2 to 3 glasses of skim milk daily, believing it supported bone health and provided lean protein. She consumed yogurt for breakfast, cheese on sandwiches, and cream in her coffee. Total dairy intake exceeded 4 servings daily, all of it pasteurized and processed. When I ordered a comprehensive stool analysis, her results showed devastated microbiome diversity. Her beneficial lactobacillus count was 90% below normal range. Bifidobacterium was undetectable. Inflammatory markers were severely elevated. Her intestinal lining showed significant permeability, the condition commonly called leaky gut that allows partially digested food proteins and bacterial toxins to enter the bloodstream. I instructed Margaret to eliminate all dairy products for 30 days while implementing a microbiome restoration protocol. Within the first week, her bloating decreased noticeably. By week 2, her bowel movements normalized to once daily with complete evacuation. By week 3, her energy returned and the brain fog lifted. At the 30-day mark, she reported feeling better than she had in 5 years. The joint pain had resolved completely. A follow-up stool analysis at 90 days showed restored lactobacillus populations and measurable bifidobacterium presence. Her inflammatory markers had dropped to normal range. Margaret's case is not unusual. It is the standard pattern I observe when patients eliminate processed dairy and support microbiome recovery. The problem is that conventional medicine treats the symptoms, bloating, pain, inflammation, without ever addressing the dietary cause, systematically destroying the bacterial ecosystem those symptoms arise from. So what should you do instead? Here is your complete clinically organized protocol for microbiome restoration and dairy replacement, broken down into specific daily actions with exact measurements and timing. Morning protocol. When you wake, before consuming any food, drink 250 milliliters, approximately 1 cup, of room temperature water with 1 tablespoon of raw apple cider vinegar containing the mother. The mother is the cloudy sediment of beneficial bacteria and enzymes visible in unfiltered vinegar. This provides acetic acid that creates an acidic environment beneficial bacteria thrive in while inhibiting harmful species. Drink this 15 to 20 minutes before breakfast. For breakfast, replace dairy milk with unsweetened almond milk, coconut milk, or oat milk. Critical specification: read ingredients carefully. Many commercial plant milks contain carrageenan, a seaweed extract that damages intestinal lining and kills beneficial bacteria as effectively as dairy. Choose brands with 3 ingredients maximum: the plant source, water, and possibly a small amount of sea salt. Avoid any product containing guar gum, xanthan gum, or artificial sweeteners. Prepare overnight oats using 100 grams, about 1 cup, of whole rolled oats soaked in 250 milliliters of plant milk with 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed, 1 tablespoon of chia seeds, and a handful of fresh or frozen berries. The flaxseed and chia seeds contain prebiotic fiber that feeds beneficial bacteria. The berries provide polyphenols that promote bifidobacterium growth. Let this mixture sit overnight in the refrigerator for 8 to 10 hours. The soaking process breaks down phytic acid in the oats that otherwise binds minerals and reduces nutrient absorption. Midday protocol. For lunch, consume a large serving of fermented vegetables, specifically 100 to 150 grams, roughly half a cup to 3/4 cup, of sauerkraut, kimchi, or naturally fermented pickles. These foods contain billions of live lactobacillus bacteria that directly re-inoculate your intestinal microbiome. Critical specification: the fermented vegetables must be unpasteurized and refrigerated. Most commercially available sauerkraut and pickles in shelf-stable jars have been pasteurized, killing all beneficial bacteria. Look for products in the refrigerated section labeled raw or unpasteurized. Include a serving of prebiotic vegetables with every meal. These are specific vegetables containing fiber types that beneficial bacteria consume as fuel. The most effective prebiotic vegetables are Jerusalem artichokes, asparagus, leeks, onions, garlic, and chicory root. Aim for 150 to 200 grams total of these vegetables distributed across your daily meals. Evening protocol. 2 hours before bed, prepare a microbiome support drink. Combine 250 milliliters of warm water, not boiling, with 1 teaspoon of raw honey and 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Raw honey contains oligosaccharides that feed beneficial bacteria and antimicrobial compounds that inhibit harmful species. Cinnamon has been shown in research published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry to promote growth of bifidobacterium and lactobacillus while suppressing pathogenic bacteria. For dinner, include a source of resistant starch. Resistant starch is a type of carbohydrate that resists digestion in the small intestine and reaches the colon intact, where beneficial bacteria ferment it into butyrate, the primary fuel for colonocytes, the cells lining your colon. The best sources are cooked and cooled potatoes, cooked and cooled rice, green bananas, and cooked and cooled legumes. The cooling process after cooking creates the resistant starch structure. Aim for 100 to 150 grams of one of these foods with your evening meal. Supplementation protocol. Take a high-quality probiotic containing at least 10 billion CFU colony-forming units of mixed lactobacillus and bifidobacterium strains. Take this with breakfast when stomach acid is lowest. Choose a product that requires refrigeration, indicating the bacteria are alive, and lists specific strain names such as Lactobacillus rhamnosus, GG, or Bifidobacterium longum rather than generic species names. Add a prebiotic fiber supplement if you cannot consume sufficient prebiotic vegetables. Inulin powder or partially hydrolyzed gar gum, 2 to 3 grams daily mixed into water or smoothies, provides concentrated prebiotic fuel. Start with 1 gram daily and increase gradually over 2 weeks to prevent gas and bloating as beneficial bacteria populations expand. Foods to eliminate completely. All pasteurized dairy milk, cheese, yogurt, ice cream, and cream. All products containing carrageenan, artificial sweeteners, particularly sucralose and aspartame, which kill beneficial bacteria on contact, and emulsifiers including polysorbate 80 and carboxymethyl cellulose, which damage the mucosal layer. Reduce or eliminate refined sugar and high fructose corn syrup. These compounds feed harmful bacteria species while starving beneficial ones. A study in Cell Metabolism demonstrated that high sugar intake reduces microbiome diversity within 48 hours of consumption. Limit red meat to twice weekly maximum. Research published in Nature showed that L-carnitine in red meat is converted by gut bacteria into trimethylamine N-oxide, a compound that damages intestinal barrier function and promotes cardiovascular disease. Timeline for results. Within the first week, you should notice reduced bloating and more regular bowel movements. By the end of week 2, energy levels typically increase and brain fog begins clearing. Within 3 to 4 weeks, you should see improvements in skin clarity, reduced joint pain if present, and normalization of digestive function. Complete microbiome restoration with measurable bacterial diversity improvements typically requires 8 to 12 weeks of consistent adherence to this protocol. Now, critical warnings you need to hear. If you experience severe abdominal pain, bloody stools, unexplained weight loss exceeding 5 pounds in 1 month, or persistent diarrhea lasting more than 3 days, see a gastroenterologist immediately. These symptoms can indicate serious conditions including inflammatory bowel disease, celiac disease, or colorectal cancer that require professional medical evaluation and cannot be addressed through dietary changes alone. If you are currently taking antibiotics, wait until you complete the full course before implementing the probiotic supplementation. Antibiotics kill beneficial bacteria as effectively as harmful ones. Taking probiotics during antibiotic treatment wastes money and provides no benefit. Begin the probiotic protocol 48 hours after your final antibiotic dose. If you have a compromised immune system due to chemotherapy, HIV/AIDS, or immunosuppressive medications, do not consume unpasteurized fermented foods without discussing with your oncologist or immunologist. In severely immunocompromised individuals, beneficial bacteria can occasionally cause opportunistic infections. The science behind this protocol is not alternative medicine or traditional wisdom. This is established gastroenterology supported by hundreds of peer-reviewed studies. Research published in Science demonstrated that microbiome composition directly influences risk for obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and autoimmune conditions. A study in Nature Medicine showed that microbiome diversity predicts longevity more accurately than many genetic factors. The European Journal of Clinical Nutrition confirmed that fermented foods increase beneficial bacterial populations within 2 weeks of regular consumption. Your gut bacteria are not a minor consideration. They are not something to address someday when you have time. They are actively dying right now if you consumed dairy today. And the cascade of consequences from microbiome destruction, chronic inflammation, immune dysfunction, metabolic disease, neurological decline, these are not distant possibilities. They are measurable processes beginning within hours of microbiome damage. How old are you? Write it in the comments. I want to see which age group makes up the majority of our viewers because it will directly shape what I cover in future videos. If this video helped you understand the hidden danger in a food you've been consuming daily, share it with someone you care about, a parent, a friend, someone experiencing unexplained digestive symptoms or chronic health issues their doctors haven't been able to resolve. You may have just given them the missing piece that finally explains why nothing has worked. Subscribe to Dr. Dr. Waterling if you haven't already. We're building a community of people who refuse to accept that declining health is inevitable, who understand that the system is not designed to keep you well, and who are willing to take informed action based on real science rather than industry marketing. Every subscriber helps us reach more people with information that can genuinely change their health trajectory. Your body is not broken. Your gut bacteria are not doomed to die, but they need the right environment to thrive. And that environment cannot include the processed dairy products destroying them daily. You have the knowledge now. You have the specific protocol. The only thing required is the decision to implement it consistently for the next 30 days and observe what happens in your own body. That is the experiment worth conducting.